Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the MLB Rules Commission, is bad at their jobs. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everyone.
And this week, we are going to be talking about the Cardinals' rotation, some unlikely offensive heroes. We're going to talk about some of the recent roster movement, and we're going to discuss the aforementioned rules changes. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. All right, we have a lot to talk about this episode.
Nate, I'm going to say it's a hot ep. It's a hot ep.
It's a hot
week.
ep. Yeah, but I'm going to derail. I could tell you're spinning in your chair.
Yeah,
but you're also leaned back, keeping it real relaxed.
It's as hot as I can. Lukewarm.
Yeah. But before we get to baseball, we've mentioned it a little bit on this show, but not a lot. But in 3 days, Ben is getting married.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I think I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I think we were kind of just talking about this before we started recording. That's like, not only did I decide to, do my wedding in Colorado, which is obviously where I live, but where it's an out of town wedding for probably 60 to 70% of everyone coming. I decided not only to do it, in Colorado, but actually in a place that's pretty hard to get to, and relatively remote. So I think a little stressed about like all of the people coming from all over the country to get to the right place at the right time. But other than that, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, generally pretty good. Like, my suit's currently getting pressed. Little things like that are the machinations are happening. And I think my brother just hopped on a plane, who's my best man. He'll be here momentarily. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm feeling okay. We had the good idea of going to go to a Red Rock show tonight, to see Wilco. So that's kind of like our kickoff celebratory. Let's get this weekend going. So I'm feeling really good about that. And
nice.
But yeah, I don't know. I think like you can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. There's a lot going on, but we got it going.
Well, I think it's pretty remarkable because, you met this woman, like 3 months ago, and you've managed to put all of this together.
Yeah, I was in a work meeting with our entire department the other day, and they kind of went around the table making fun of me for waiting 9 years to make this happen. So yeah, thank you. You can feel free to pour it on.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, it makes sense. You had to make sure.
Yeah,
I think it's more she had to make sure. Let's be real here. I think you had your decision, a long time ago.
You move through life so flippantly that you just kind of stumbled into your nuptials. So I'm thoughtful, pragmatic. I take the John Mozeliak approach to things, where trust the process and let it work out.
I waited a reasonable, normal 6 years. So
we're both a couple of losers.
But no, I'm excited. I'll be in town tomorrow. Love coming out to Denver, and I've not been to the part of Colorado that the wedding is at. So I'm excited.
We've got to drive over Berthoud Pass, head on down into
Winter
Park, head up to Fraser, Granby, maybe go look at the lake.
Let's go ahead and put the exact location of your wedding here on the podcast. We've got a house, a bunch of us that are coming out. We've got a house together, so it should be a lot of fun. And
that house might not make it through the weekend. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, the altitude combined with an open bar is really my chief concern of the weekend.
The wedding venue has asked that we inform the guests that they drink water. because I guess they've had some bad experiences.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Smort, big smort. Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to it. So assuming we all survive, this podcast actually scheduling lined up well for us for this
Yeah.
purpose. So, thanks for, your wedding week. That's how committed we are to this
Wow.
dumb show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never missed an
uh,
ep.
Yep, never miss an ep. Well, there may be an even bigger milestone over this weekend, though unlikely, but maybe.
So
Pujols.
yeah, can I want to interrupt really quick. So I
Yeah,
need to note that we're getting married on Saturday. There's a
yeah,
double header, the Cardinals double header on Saturday. And Mary said the only situation that I can watch baseball, and I would like to say I agree with this. I'm not like I am not being
yeah.
restricted. Is if Pujols is on the verge of 700. So I'm hopeful that it actually does not happen that quickly because that would be a lot of home runs in a short amount of time. But the fact that it is a double header against a relatively bad team has me like there's it's a non-zero chance.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be relying upon others, probably primarily you, to kind of keep me in the loop of what's going
Mhm.
on there. And I'm hoping that Pujols is gracious enough to not do 700 on Saturday, but he's
Well,
close.
he's close. So I have a job in this wedding, although I still don't really know what it is that I'm doing. I'm gonna find that out on Friday,
Well,
but I think it's gonna
I,
rely. I
I've
think I'm
I've
gonna
made it as
have a.
simple for you as possible. I was actually
Mm.
working on it this morning, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I think though there may be like a microphone in my vicinity while performing this job. So, besides all of the shenanigans I have planned, I'm gonna ruin your wedding. It's gonna be great. I'm also don't worry, I will live broadcast. Uh, you know, here's the pitch. Ooh, just a bit outside.
You'll get stabbed in 38 seconds, but you should try
Mar-
that.
Mary would devour me. I
Yeah,
think she'd unhinge her jaw and just
yeah,
swallow me whole, and then, that would be that. It'd
be
be worth it
entertaining.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so we wanted to talk about, Pujols,
Well,
almost arguably the bigger milestone, I would say, moving into 4th all time.
I was just gonna say that I think that like our brains like these big fat round numbers, and 700 is obviously a very big and very fat and very round number, and that would be
Mhm.
extremely impressive for him to get to there. But I agree. I think the celebratory or the thing that we should all be excited about is him passing A Rod because that's in
Right.
stone. A Rod's not hitting any more home runs. He
Yeah.
is a top 4 home run hitter in baseball all time. And whether that number's 500, 1,000, 700, whatever it is, he has done, compared to his peers over
Yeah.
120 plus years. He has earned that. So I totally agree with you. I think that has way more value. And what was funny is when I was doing a little research for the show this morning, is that MLB is treating the big round number kind of, I think, like everyone else is. And they're going to start, once he gets to that number, they're going to start like RFIDing or somehow they're somehow marking these balls that will be thrown specifically to Pujols so that when it does go to the stands, they know which ball it is. Because I assume that baseball is going to be worth a lot of money, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
would
I don't
assume
know what
so.
the exact plan, or maybe just go straight to Cooperstown.
Well, I think it'll be handled like most, important home run balls, which is if, like, the stadium gets it, like maybe it goes into the batter's eye or into one of the wells, into the bullpens or whatever. It's just gonna go to Pujols and he'll get to decide. I bet Cooperstown will request it and it'll be up to him. But if it goes into the stands and someone catches it, I mean, it's their
So,
call, right?
so if you're catching that ball, if you catch 700, which we all know you're physically incapable of, but let's
God,
say you
yeah.
do,
It'd have
what do
to
you
it'd
do?
have to hit me so hard in the chest that it actually digs into my sternum, and like, I go to the hospital and they surgically remove the ball from me. I think that's the only way I'm catching one of those.
You would
Um,
really earn it in that scenario.
yeah, I've thought about this, and this is tricky. Generally speaking, I've always been of the mind that if I caught an historic home run ball, I would probably be more of a mind to sell it
Yeah,
than give it like than ask for like a signed bat or whatever. Just because like I think, or at least I. It's hard for me to say. What I will say is that I never fault the fan for selling it because like
sure.
some of these things are life-changing money, and that player can buy that ball if they really want it, right? They have more money than anyone. So,
Sure.
um, if I caught Pujols' 700 though, I'd be inclined to give it to him. But I would be asking for everything. I'm talking I
Yeah.
want season tickets for a while, like good ones too, like I want to get my money's worth. If I'm not going to sell this thing for like 200 grand or whatever, like
Wow.
insane amount of money I could probably get for it, which I still maybe would do because of that amount of money. I'm looking for some real cash return on this thing. I don't know what,
Interesting.
maybe
Okay.
I'm selfish in that regard, but like I don't know.
I,
Pujols has a $500 million and he also could just buy it from me for that too.
yeah.
So um I don't know. What would you do?
Yeah, I guess after hearing you kind of explain it that way, and I money is good and everything like that. Like I hear where you're coming from. That is it's just not how I think I would handle it. I think I would broker a
Yeah.
meeting with Mr. Pujols, maybe Yadi, Wayno, whoever I could rope into that situation. I'd like some signed cleats, bat, I don't know, something like that, something I could put in my little office down here and maybe tell a story on the podcast about. And that would probably be where it
I
started and stopped. I guess I also like you're making it sound like, and I mean, not that money doesn't matter to me or anything like that. Like, anyone could use tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Like, I wouldn't want to give that up. And you're right, Pujols has enough money that why don't you just buy it from me, pal? Um, but no,
give
I
him a
think
sweet
like
discount.
I'm a big softy romantic, especially when it comes to stuff like this. I would just be like, yeah, I just want to meet him and get a photo and like I don't know, maybe check out the clubhouse or something. I don't know, like
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah, I don't
maybe
want
I
to.
have a standing reservation at Pool Holes 5 every time I come in town,
There
something
you
like
go.
that.
I don't want to sound like an asshole here, but by the way, I looked it up. Barry Bonds' 700th home run
Yeah.
sold for $85,000 in 2005.
Okay.
So I suspect that if the Pujols one went on the market, you'd be looking somewhere around double that
Yeah.
with just the rise of prices and
Like,
everything, and I,
well, a
you know
baseball memorabilia is so high right now in itself. I think, yeah, you could very, very confidently say six figures and then how high
yeah.
into that, I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't
money
know,
is good. Hey, I could
yeah.
finally
I
quit
mean,
this stupid podcast.
this is our chief source of income. Um, Maybe if there was something where we could get Pujols to say like talking about birds is the number one best Cardinal podcast.
Oh, a
Get
plug.
him
That would be
get him
huge.
get him on as a brand ambassador.
Yeah.
Something like that maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to think of what I would do in the moment. My cold lizard brain away from the situation is like sell that shit for $250,000 and change my
Yeah.
life fundamentally, versus like you know, some sweet pics with some dudes that I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm not gonna do that, I would want some, return that like, I'm not I don't really care that much about like pictures with players and stuff like that. But if I could get,
No,
some choice seats forever.
yeah. And maybe because I don't live in St. Louis, like that maybe I'd move back and get my nice seats. But I can
Yeah.
I can really imagine like an Albert Pujols game used signed bat right above my kind of
Yeah.
in front of my office area here, and how dope that would be. But yeah, no,
I
you're
want to. I
probably
want
right.
what I
You
want one inning in right field as the start as a starting member of the St.
yeah.
Louis Cardinals.
Your craven capitalistic mindset is probably the appropriate one, and I hate you
Yeah.
for it.
Well, um, I looked at tickets for the last weekend series. I was curious to see what those
Yeah.
seats like where, if you were to like StatCast, like where's the most likely place for Pujols to hit 700 if it's at home. You're looking sort of in the left field bleachers sort of area. The front row, the first couple rows of bleacher seats in the left field right now are going for somewhere around $450 to $600 a ticket. And I
Ooh,
think part of that is this like equation of, if I'm there and it comes at me, like, there you
change your
go.
life a little bit. Yeah,
Because tickets like 4 or 5 rows back from that are like, 50, $60, like
sure.
expensive for those seats, but not, you know,
Yeah, hundreds.
not $500-$600. So
Wow.
there are people definitely, thinking about that.
Sure. Huh.
Yeah. But like, I'm not even going, let alone would ever be capable of catching it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
But
like that there's got to be a brand of person who like follows these type of things and buys sections that they think are home run
yeah,
likely, and then
well,
like when those balls are hit, they are going for those balls, not just like,
yeah.
oh, I hope it comes to me. They are going for those kinds of balls.
There's that dude, that asshole that like,
Yeah, we shouldn't give him
uh,
any airtime. That guy sucks.
yeah,
YouTuber dude.
Hun-
That yeah,
yeah, he's
yeah.
caught
The most
hundreds.
caught balls. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all that footage of him like stepping in front of children to
Yes,
grab the ball and whatnot. So
he
yeah, I bet that
sucks.
guy is tracking down,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
you know, on the flip side, on a positive story, I'm sure you saw the nice little press around the people who caught 697, which we think is bigger than 700,
yeah,
though maybe not on the market. They wanted to meet Pujols to give it to him, and he said, no, keep it, which
yeah.
is really nice. So maybe there'd be a happy medium here where I go, I catch it, I say, Pujols, I want to give this to you, and he says, no, keep it, and I'm like, tight. All right, auction
Yeah.
200 grand.
I'm guessing that Pujols would get one look at you and be like, ugh, give me that ball.
Just give me that.
He'd just
Yeah,
take it from you
yeah. I try to
because you're,
run.
yeah.
I mean,
You might be able to, you run a
I'm
decent amount. You
I
might be able to
run.
outrun Pujols.
Yeah, the he hasn't he can barely walk, so hopefully, but I don't know. He's also an elite athlete, so even
Yeah.
like a broken elite athlete is
Yeah.
probably better than most of us. Um, all right, well, let's move on. But really excited for even the fact that he's almost to 700. Which, if you pull back from the milestone piece of this whole thing, the fact that hitting 20 to 21 home runs is the outcome that we might be getting from this Pujols signing is pretty ridiculous.
It's absolutely insane. He's got a WRC plus around, or an OPS plus actually around like 140, and he's got 18 home runs. He's getting on base. He's not striking out a ton. It is, I
Yeah.
can't believe it.
Well, they're using him well, although
Yeah.
that last home run was off a righty. So
He's been
he
hitting
gets a
righties. Yeah,
he gets them every once in a while.
he
So
does.
they're using him well and keeping him rested. And I think we've been a fan of Ollie Marmol. We talked a lot about him a couple episodes ago, and I think this is another example of it. Just using the guys in the
What do
right way.
you? We should move on, but I could talk about Pujols all day. Really quick, what do you think about? There's like a mini narrative going around that's positing the idea if Albert was in managed by Ali Marmol for the past decade, we'd be talking about 800 home runs. Do you think there's anything behind that? Do you think this is just magic?
That's an interesting question. I mean, like, if you're another way to ask that question is, do you think that the Angels wildly mismanaged Albert Pujols? Um, then yes, I do. And
I
so
I,
that's a
I think that's a much easier thing to answer than the
yeah,
other side of that question. Is that yeah, I do think the Angels are stupid and a generally poorly ran organization.
yeah. Well, he was good with the Dodgers immediately, and then he's been
Hmm.
good with us. So 800, I don't know. Would he hit 100 more home runs over his 10 years with the Angels? That's hard to say, but
Yeah,
because he's still that like the reason he's getting to 700 now is like the one thing he did with the Angels was still hit home runs. So I mean he would have had to have a couple more 40 home run seasons, a few more third, like that's pretty lofty, but 750 maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
You like, I guess that's really, especially based on the kind of thing that we're talking about earlier. It's like, would he, more importantly, less importantly than 800, more importantly, be getting close to Mr. Bonds, which would be,
Yeah.
being the
I think
king would
that's
be more important than anything else.
yeah. That is, I think, maybe, yeah, especially
Yeah.
those middle last few years with the Angels where like they were just running him out there every day, all day, and he clearly was not
Yeah.
handling it well, because that's what we're seeing with the Dodgers and with the Cardinals is this like minimized specific usage makes his at bats effective,
Yeah.
and when they were just running him into the ground, if he had maybe had those last few years with the Angels being used like this, he's hitting 20, 25 a year over there. I don't know.
Yeah.
We maybe get there.
I know. Something to think about that we will never know the answer to, but
Yeah.
interesting nonetheless.
I'll run a few 2023 MLB The Show simulations. We'll
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're gonna
yeah.
open up the hood and get in the
Yeah,
sims.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
that's yeah. Cool.
God, you reacted so negatively to that.
It's your
No,
bullshit.
no. Okay, never mind, I guess.
No, do that. That's a good use of your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. All right.
Actually, bail on the wedding. Focus on that. We'll talk about it next week.
I'll come back with the numbers. Yeah, I'll come
Yeah.
back with the numbers. Yikes. All right, let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
We've got we wanted to talk a little bit about Quintana. He's continuing a kind of an understated run with the Cardinals. I think Montgomery's getting a lot of the focus, and that's fair. But I think you really wanted to point out some stuff about Quintana.
Well, yeah, I think like it's mostly the fact that it's just not being talked about as much as I feel that it should be being talked about. Like he has come in and been everything plus the Cardinals needed. He has given the Cardinals about 40 innings. I think he's at like 7 or 8 starts right now. All of it's been under a 3 ERA. His FIP, all of his other numbers look great. They have ticked up slightly from moving from the Pirates to the Cardinals. And I think that's park factors. I think that's defense. I think that's a little bit of Yadi factor. I think that's
Right.
probably, I mean, even if baseball players won't say this, I think, playing for a team that is absolutely nowhere close to the playoffs to playing, having that little extra adrenaline being in meaningful games. I have to imagine, especially for a guy that's been around as long as Quintana, he can kind of take that energy and bottle it and use it actually in a positive way. And, all those things I think have kind of came together to make him have a really, really nice little run with the Cardinals. And I just, really I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about it, and I feel like it's just going a little under the radar. And I can let you respond to that, or I can just keep going here. Something else that I thought, well, yeah, you want to talk, say your thing.
No, it's fine. I
Oh,
was gonna say, give me some stats here because I think
yeah.
you have a few details you wanted to throw out.
Yeah, well, when we first acquired him, me and you chatted about, okay, it's the changeup. He's been pumping changeup. Derek Shelton's pitching coach, whose name I can't remember right now, said, we like your changeup. Why don't you throw your best pitch more? He started doing that. He talked about to Fangraphs. He talked about it with Jimmy Hayes when he came over to the Cardinals, that he feels really good about that changeup. And funny enough, he has actually reduced throwing his changeup. He's cut it basically in half, and then he has doubled his sinker usage since joining the Cardinals. And I think like it's kind of funny. We're going to talk about this with Jordan Montgomery as well, but it is funny. And I wonder if this is a Yadi effect. I wonder if this is, again, the park factor, the Cardinals defense, whatever it is. But the Cardinals are just so dead set on the sinker approach. Obviously, it's working. And you can also assume that, if you're pumping sinkers, that plays up your other pitches as well, because people have to be worried about, driving that ball into the ground. But I guess really what I'm trying to say is it's funny. It seemed like Quintana unlocked something by changing up his pitch mix. And then we get him and say, yeah, that's pretty good, but I think you should actually do this and change it again. And he's even better.
Yeah.
So, take that for what it's worth. But I found that to be a little fascinating. I expected the changeup when I went to look at this data, the changeup to be even more featured or something like that. But when you actually break it down, like I said, not the case.
Well, there's something to be said for, even though you're using it less, it kind of makes it more effective because they can't see it as much. You still think he's going to throw it a lot. You're expecting it more, but you just keep pounding that sinker. I think that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, just the Cardinals sinker first approach is just always going to make sense as long as they have the infield defense that they have. And so if you can throw an effective sinker and mix it up with a very effective changeup, that certainly seems like a recipe for success with this team.
Yeah, and I think we were kind of like trying to figure out who's going to be in the playoff rotation, and even though I wanted to talk about this, I still don't know if he's cracking that but he's an effect. Like he will be on the roster. What his form
Mm-hmm.
and shape will be, I don't know exactly. Maybe he's coming out of the bullpen and he's getting bulk innings or something like that, or just throwing him for one. But it just needs to be noted he's been really, really good all year. He's taken a step up joining the Cardinals. It's happening. It's real. You
Yeah.
can believe it. You can tweet about it. You can celebrate it maybe a little bit more than we have been.
if I had to, if I was predicting, I think there's a good chance that the Cardinals rotation for the playoffs is going to be, I don't know what order, but Flaherty, Wainwright, and Montgomery.
Yeah. Um.
The wild card in there to me is Flaherty.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I'm not going to totally, you know, Wayno and Michaelis have kind of not been great very, very
yeah,
recently. I still have faith in them, and I think the Cardinals do too. And we're talking on today where Wayno's going to have another start, which is going to be a big, emotional, interesting start. So, hopefully he kind of bounces back today a little, and we see what that's like. But yeah, I think I mean, that's probably who I would throw out there right now. And if I had to say, I would probably put Monty number one. I know he
yeah.
just got blown up, but everything he's been doing since he's been on the
Yeah,
team, I think he'd be my number one right now.
yeah. And start out with that lefty look. Yeah, I think that'd be fair. And I agree with you. I mean, that's why Michaelis, if we had done this 2 months ago, Michaelis would maybe be your number one, but he and Wayno have struggled. And I just suspect that I don't know how bad Wayno would have to be for them to drop him off the starting rotation in the playoff series, but I don't think he's there yet. I think
Yeah.
that,
Well,
maybe they're capable of making that cold decision if he continues to struggle for the rest of the month, and Flaherty or Quintana like keep up what they're doing, and or Flaherty like turns back into the ace
yeah,
and
yeah.
Quintana keeps doing what he's doing. Like they might be able to make that decision, but I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the head. It would have to be 3 or 4 more starts of poor performance before they even start
Yeah.
actually entertaining that. Because I think there is real value, whether we can understand it or not, that Ali Marmal and Mozeliak and the team will look at as Wayno's been there, done that in a big playoff
Yeah.
situation, and just that will kind of shoots him up that ladder as far as starting those games.
Knowing
So
how
yeah, I
these
think you're
things
right.
go, and knowing how these things go and how Wayno reacts, I think the only way Wayno's not in that starting rotation is if he's the first one who says, "Don't put me in there." You know,
Yeah.
it would be something where he's the one ahead of the news cycle saying, I'm pulling myself because I've not been
I don't
effective," or
have my
something like
stuff
that.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah,
looks like. Yeah.
yeah. But let's talk about Montgomery a little bit.
Yeah, everyone loves when you talk about a different podcast on a podcast, right? That's
Oh
that's
yeah,
exciting. Did you listen to the episode of R2C2 with CC Sabathia? He's on it every week with Jordan Montgomery.
no, I did not.
Okay, so are you familiar with the podcast? It's CC
Yes,
Sabathia and Ryan Rucco, and they talk to baseball players, and
yeah,
I am a massive, massive CC Sabathia fan. I think he is not only a awesome Hall of Fame pitcher, but just like a cool dude and super
yeah,
down to
yeah.
earth and just funny, and I think he's great. So they'd been wanting to have Montgomery on for a while. Him and CC Sabathia are pretty tight. Obviously they pitched together the
The
Yankees towards the
Yankees.
end of CC
Yeah.
Sabathia's career. Both massive lefties. I think they have a lot in common. Like they're probably height and weight. CC's probably got him on weight, but
CC's got to be bigger. Yeah, CC
they
was
are both
they're both big, but CC was
very large
he
boys.
was
Yeah.
he was chonky.
Yeah, yeah. So they have a good rapport and everything like that. And they were just talking about Monty's move and how he's looked, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. A couple of things that I just wanted to bring up that I think are worth kind of just picking at a little bit is Monty was talking about how the Yankees are like highly dictate the pitches that they ask their pitchers to throw. Like they rate your pitches. They say this is how often you should be throwing them. And Montgomery, if you look at his pitching spray chart, he was just not throwing his four seam fastball, and he was not throwing it inside at all. Not sometimes, he just wasn't doing it. And something that Montgomery talked about is he came into the clubhouse and immediately he sets his bag down, and then Mad Dog goes and grabs him, brings him into his office, and they start talking about this kind of data. And he's like, "Why aren't you pitching to this side of the plate? Why aren't you throwing this pitch? Why aren't you doing this?" And they completely changed his repertoire. And we've seen, obviously it's a short sample size. I think he has 40 something innings, just a little bit more, a few more innings than Quintana has. But it's been really great. Like
Yeah.
it's basically cut his numbers, his ERA in half. His FIP is down. I mean, everything is going really well. And I know, like I think this, or I guess I want to talk about a wider conversation really quick. And it's the idea, like the prevailing idea for like the stat heads is that you throw your best pitch more often, right? And
Right.
I think, of course, that makes a lot of sense. Lance McCullers Jr. is like the poster child of that. You pump that curveball 1,000 times a game, people can't hit it. Great job. Even Waino has leaned into that a little bit as his career has aged. But just like we were talking about with Quintana, there is something, if you throw your curveball and changeup over and over again, people are going to start to see what that pitch is, and they're not really staying honest in the batter's box, and they're just waiting for a cookie or
Looking for
laying off of
exactly
it and
that.
letting the
Yeah.
counts build up until you get knocked out of the game. So yeah, I guess it's just very interesting. Like you think of the Yankees as one of the most advanced analytical teams in baseball, and then we've had two pitchers come to St. Louis and immediately get better because of pitch mix and basically because of Mad Dog. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure we really talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's we begin to assume, like, with the access of information everywhere, and you have just entire companies that are focused around providing this information just to like the general public, Statcast and what Fangraphs is doing, Baseball Savant, all of these. You kind of assume that, like, well, everything's out there and everyone has access to everything, and it's just about execution at this point, and it's less about like data mining. But
Right.
it's clearly not the case. There is still different uh, people are able to take that data and interpret it in very different ways, and that is making the difference for some of these guys. um, why haven't the Yankees figured out what Mad Dog figured out? Maybe they did, and they just thought, no, there's no way that will work. And Maddox is the only one who's like, no, let's give it a shot. I don't know. Yeah, it's a really interesting part of how the game has continued to develop, and the competitive edge is still there, even with this extreme access to everything.
Right.
By the way, I looked it up. Jordan Montgomery and CC Sabathia are both 6'6", so you got that. You're right;
Okay.
they're the same
Yep.
height. But Jordan Montgomery is at least listed at 228 pounds.
That feels
And
light.
CC Sabathia listed at 300.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Couple of
I
monsters, but yeah, CC's got them.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a credit to Maddox, and although it's this weird thing where we were talking not too long about also how, like, the Cardinals seem incapable of developing an ace, but they
Yeah.
seem incredibly capable at taking mid-range guys and making them slightly above mid-range,
Right.
you know, which is valuable, obviously. The whole rotation for years has basically been that. But like, where's the gap? Why, is it the
Yeah.
drafting department and we're just not finding the guys that are capable of becoming that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Every future ace collapses on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about that, like 30,000 foot view, really quick. Like maybe that was like an effect from Lunau. Like Lunau came in and drafted really good position players for a long time. Went to Houston, did the same thing, and only recently have the Astros kind of turned around their pitching development. Now they're, other than Verlander, basically their whole pitching staff is homegrown and a couple of
Yeah.
impact relievers. Maybe that was part of Lunau's strategy, and we're still feeling waves from that. I'm kind of shooting from the hip there. I don't actually know, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun to blame him for something.
Yeah. It's been
Uh,
several years, since that, but it could be.
yeah. Another thing that I thought was interesting from the conversation, well, first off, CC, like I said, him and Jordan Montgomery know each other pretty well, and CC was talking about how loose and comfortable Jordan Montgomery felt after going from the Yankees to St. Louis, and I think that that's probably not super surprising. Like we all know, St. Louis really wraps a big fan hug around everyone who's
Mhm.
here, and you can be Giancarlo Stanton and get booed in Yankee Stadium if you have a bad week or so.
Right.
Um, Even though you're one of the best power hitters of all time. So that's wasn't super surprising to me. But what I thought was cool, and something that we've kind of been teasing at, sign this dude, is that he alluded to the fact in not so many words that the Cardinals might be interested in retaining him. He was kind of talking along the
Yeah.
lines of, man, it's really nice to be wanted. This team went out and traded for me. As soon as I got here, they had this plan for me. Yadi and Wayno have been so welcoming. And hey, who knows? He said something to the effect of, who knows, they might want to keep me here for the long term. And I'm going to just take that little splice of that conversation and run with it. I'm going to say, Mo, let's go do it.
Yeah.
I think this has been such a great trade. Um, I want him to stick around. I'm a
Lock him
big
up.
fan. Lock him up.
Yep. Why? Yeah. I mean, it's not like we have some crazy, deep rotation pieces knocking at the door to get into the rotation. The rotation has been in shambles for years. This guy comes in, seems great. It seems like a no brainer, and the sooner you do it, the cheaper it's going to get. Because if he has another year, a full year like this next year in the Cardinals, I mean, he suddenly becomes an incredibly valuable free agent. So it seems like you should just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like the idea of, especially obviously Wayno's, this might be his last year, next year might be his last year, whenever that's going to happen. Michaelis is getting older. I kind of like, not that Montgomery is like particularly young, but I kind of like the idea of handing it down
he's
to
a few
another,
years. Yeah,
guy that's a massive, he just looks like a big Cardinal starter, and he just fits the part.
yeah.
I know that's a really great analysis there, but
He
it
looked
makes
good.
sense.
Yeah, you say he's more comfortable here, and of course, I think there's all the like outside of New York stuff. But I mean, also it's just considerably more comfortable to pitch in Busch Stadium instead
Yeah.
of Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a little league uh park over there, and we've got one of the most pitcher friendly parks in the league.
Yeah.
So
And I have to imagine, if you're pitching in Yankee Stadium, if you're pitching in Great American Ballpark or something like that, I bet there is something in your head where you're like, oh God, I cannot make a mistake because it's going over the wall. In St.
yeah,
Louis, you can make a mistake here and there. They really got to tag it to get it out.
yeah. Well, let's go into let's move on a little bit. I think we could talk about all this stuff all day, but there's uh there's been a little bit of hand wringing lately about the offense, as some guys, some of like as Goldie and Arenado, sort of dip out of superstar offensive MVP caliber and are having just standard above average a couple
Yeah.
weeks rather than lights out best players in baseball. But I mean, when almost your entire offense revolves around those two guys, you're going to see a step down if they are both not clicking at the same time like we had in August. Personally, I'm not worried. It's just the ebbs and flows of the season, and we just have to hope, like any playoff team does, is that your guys get hot at the right time. But what we have been seeing, while they've been, again, not like terribly bad, but they haven't been their lights out self. We've seen some other guys really stepping up, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about here. First of all, I think
Yeah.
we got to start with, I mean, suddenly back to putting together one of the better seasons in recent Cardinal history. Tommy Edman, over 6 WAR now on the season. Like,
It's been
what
one
do
of
you
the
do?
wildest seasons I can remember an individual player having. But yeah, he is. I mean, he's just a step below whatever metric you want to look at of the two best players, Goldie and Nolan Arenado, and he is hot, hot, hot right now. And obviously that Gold Glove defense is short and second carries that a lot. But he has a 238 WRC plus in September. I know, we're only halfway through September, but those are big boy numbers right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. I mean, again, like a 6 WAR season, we have not had many of those as
No,
it's wild that we have 3 right now, and it's definitely overshadowing it, and his deep slumps that really color your overall picture of his season. But, at the end of the day, if you're putting up 6 WAR, like uh that's usually MVP vote season,
yeah,
We'll see
yeah.
if
I
he
mean,
gets that.
he's within shouting distance of 15 home runs. He's one away from 30 stolen bases. Um, everything. I talked about the defensive flexibility and the prowess. It's not like he's just filling in at those spots. He's very, very, very good,
Yeah.
particularly at second base. Um,
They just announced the new super utility gold glove, which Cardinal
didn't know
fans are.
that.
Yeah. So it was just announced, I think, yesterday. Rawlings has announced they're calling it super utility. It's a gold glove for that position. And I've seen Cardinal fans referring to it as the Tommy Edman Award.
I
And I
mean that.
think it's obvious. I think it's a
Yeah,
good call. I think it's great. Like, that position is becoming more and more important, and getting more and more sort of sunlight. So I think it's great. But there's another guy that, maybe not as defensive, uh, maybe not as high end defensively as Edmund, but still gives you that insane versatility. Who's also having a good season, Brendan Donovan.
he it it's almost like I almost put this in the same category as like Jose Quintana's performance. It's like it's almost become a little ho hum, but Brendan Donovan has a close to 400 on base percentage, over 400 plate appearances in his rookie season. He's played every position other than catcher and center field. And it's hard to imagine the Cardinals being where they are without him. And he just kind of has shown up and done it and been quiet and been all over the place. It's been incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, when you've got guys like Arenado, Goldie, and O'Neill hitting well, all you need is people to get on base, and you're
Yeah.
going to score runs, and he does it. The only knock against him is he has virtually no power, and we
Yeah.
don't really project it to be that way. So when, if the core of the lineup is struggling, he's not going to provide much of a thump or run scoring. But when the recipe of this team is working, he's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a shoe in to be the kind of leadoff guy for the foreseeable future, right? Like we talk about how things like on base percentage generally something that kind of is accurate quickly. Like usually big league players establish that fairly early.
Yep.
And as we just referenced, he slaps the ball a little bit, but mostly he just gets on base. And I think exactly what you said. I think the Cardinals are built for 1 and 2 to get on base, the 3 mashers to come up, and you try that 4 times a game, 5 times a game, and hopefully you win. And
Right.
everything else outside of that is just gravy. And maybe Tommy will get hot, maybe Yadi will get hot, maybe Albert will dump one over the wall. But
Dump one.
yeah, that was that was good. But yeah, I mean, I it's just kind of wild. Like I think if it wasn't for those monsters in Atlanta, Spencer Strider and Michael Harris too, he would probably be getting a little more Rookie of the Year conversation, but it's just not happening.
You don't hear it called Michael Harris 2 very often.
That's how,
I,
whenever I see his jersey, that's what I think. So
yeah,
sorry, Michael Harris, if you don't
I
like
like
that.
it better. I like it better than the
Yeah.
second. I like Michael Harris 2.
Yeah.
You've seen the first one. Here's the second.
Yeah.
Michael Harris 2, Electric Boogaloo. Um, and finally, uh, we have to acknowledge the Yadi hitting the ball. You know,
I I don't. I can explain this as well as I can explain what Albert Pujols is doing, in the
yeah.
sense that it makes no sense to me. He, the broadcast keeps saying he turned it on. What the hell does that mean? What was he doing?
I don't. Yeah, I guess he has a switch, and he had purposely been turning it off for most of the season, and now he's turned it on. But I mean, it's funny when that narrative like lines up with the outcome, because even Ali Marmol was like, "I'm betting on Yachty in September. You know, I'm betting on Yachty.
Yeah,
You won't ever see me not betting on Yachty." And then, of course, here he is. He's playing well again. I
he's
don't know,
got
maybe
over a
2 months off.
thousand.
Yeah,
Oh
2
yeah,
months
yeah.
off in Puerto Rico watching basketball really energized him.
I mean, it. I just. I don't have anything intelligent to say about it because it just
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense to me. But he has over 1,000 OPS in September.
of course he
Obviously, very
does.
limited playing, but
Yeah.
hey, we can use that. The lineup is looking pretty deep. Especially we expect Nolan and Goldie, but it's starting to look like an old school AL lineup all of a sudden. You kind of got some OBP over there, you got some speed kind of sprinkled in there, and then you got your massive boppers in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. And it's just kind of nice again from that narrative standpoint. You know, this season has been kind of a whimper for Yachty,
Yeah,
especially when compared to the theatrics of Pujols. So if he can just end on a high note, I think everyone will have more fun with it, and what is this for if not that? So I'm excited for him. It
agreed.
hopefully a good high impact ending to his career.
Maybe a championship.
Maybe a championship, secure that Hall of Fame.
Hell
Not that
yeah.
I think it's really in doubt anymore. Um,
No, I
it was
think
like 7 years ago when the popular narrative was, "Will Yachty be in the Hall of Fame?"
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he's pretty much made it at this point. So, all right. So we've got a few more things to talk about before we wrap up. But before we do, we want to, as always, remind you that this show is supported on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, if you've been riding the roller coaster with us this year and really want to show your support as we near the end of the season, consider subscribing. Patreon.com/talking about birds. Subscribers at every level get access to our private Discord server. It's called the Bird Scored. We're having a good time in there.
Tweet
Come and
tweet.
join. Tweet, baby. Come in and join other fans, other Cardinal fans. Get away from the noise of your other social media and hang out with us. Talk about the Cardinals with us. It's fun. You also can, or we would love it if you would take a few minutes of your time to leave us a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps. We haven't had one for a little while, so hey, just look down and click that button. We appreciate it. And yeah, Ben, where can people find us online otherwise?
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. Again, that's on Twitter at Talk About Birds. Follow us on Instagram as well at Talking About Birds. Again, Talking About Birds on Instagram. And per usual, you can email us questions, thoughts, musings, criticisms towards Nate or myself, questions about Nate's new hairdo. Look at that, looking really, really nice.
I've got some bullshit I have to go to this weekend, and so I thought I'd
Yeah.
keep it tight.
Email all those thoughts at talkaboutbirds at gmail.com.
All right, we have a few roster moves to talk about. Mid episode last week, Alec Burleson was called up to much fanfare.
Let's go.
We were really excited about it. Since then, he has a total of 10 plate appearances and 1 hit. Incredibly small sample size.
Yeah.
Putting up a choice -2 WRC plus. But I mean, 10 sporadic at bats. What are you going to do with
Yeah.
that? But what's been your first take on this guy?
I think it's exactly as advertised. He's a hitter, which I know is silly to say, but he is somebody who hits the ball hard, hits the ball where it's pitched. I really like his approach. I like that me and him have similar body types. That makes me feel like I could be a major league player someday. When I grow up. And
Yeah.
his dad gave a really, really charming interview with Jimmy the Cat Hayes the other day that made me love their whole little family. So yeah, no, I think it's been great. I would obviously love to see him hit a little bit more.
Sure.
But the Corey Dickerson of it all, like Corey Dickerson is still being a very good major league player. Corey Dickerson has been one of the best hitters in baseball since the All-Star break. I can't answer it. It's just happening. So I'm sorry
Well,
for Alec Burleson, but this is just
yeah.
how it is right now.
Well, I mean, we knew this, like when they signed Corey Dickerson, and he had his ups and downs, which we know are going to happen. We knew this was the Corey Dickerson that we were going to get. So it's, to me, this is just everything going according to plan.
Right. And we've all placed large bets on this. It is all
Yeah.
working out extremely well. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, part of me, something that you and I have talked about is, I have a certain level of annoyance for players who are not really likely part of the overall 5 to 10 year Cardinals plan, taking away at bats from people who are.
Yeah.
Um, and generally, I think I have a pretty good argument to make. But like I said, Burleson, is probably that guy, but Corey Dickerson is just playing too well to even really have that conversation right now. So I guess that's
Yeah.
really it.
I mean, most teams have that blend. You ideally are mostly staffed by your fundamental players that are going to be a part of your team for a long time, but you need these little plugins, and when they work, it's great, and when they don't, they're not on the team for super long.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited for the Burleson era to start. I think uh, it seems like, even as good as Dickerson has been playing, like I would be surprised if they pursue another year with him. Because we have all these other guys who can fill in, and we want to see who's going to get that spot. But for now, enjoy it. I mean, I think he's earned his spot on the lineup, and he's been a big part of the team now.
Yeah, and it's like I think we've kind of made a little fun and I don't know. Maybe we could be better to Corey Dickerson in some way. But what I will say is, or some, now that we're watching him be the Corey Dickerson that we all knew he could be, as Nate mentioned, there is something really fun about watching like a proper bad ball hitter, a guy who can just
Yeah.
swing the bat, make contact. It might be a foot low in the zone, and it drives through the infield for a base hit. That is pretty fun. You're like, what? Why is he swinging? Why is he swinging? It's a base
Yeah.
hit. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's and that's, I think, part of why he has this like high variance. He can get 10 hits in a row,
Yeah.
and then he can go like a month without getting a hit.
Right.
He's definitely, BABIP reliant,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of things that have to come together for it to work, but when it works, it's great.
Yeah.
There were a few movements that happened over the last week. When the Burleson call up happened, we didn't really know why it had happened. We were just excited about Burleson, but we found out pretty quickly afterwards that is because Carlson is on the IL, which is a bummer. It maybe explains some of the performance issues he's had leading up
Yeah.
to that IL stint. We are both huge Carlson fans, and big believers. So hopefully this is the time away that he needs to get fully healthy and come back to be the starting center fielder for the playoff run. Because I think they
Yeah.
are a better team with him in center field.
Agreed. That's definitely the best team. And the good news is, and apologies if you said this, left thumb sprain. He has already resumed baseball activity. So hopefully
Yeah.
it's quick, dirty, and he's right back.
And that sort of injury, if it lingered, like that can sap your power, your hitting approach. I can
Oh, I
definitely
use
think
my
so.
thumb all the time.
Dude, I'm like never not using my thumb.
That's interesting.
All right.
Wow.
So the Cardinals, we got back our favorite pitcher, Packy Naughton. He's
Packy
back.
Norton.
James Nail went back to the Redbirds. The Oakland Athletics claimed Connor Capel off of waivers. Good luck to him in his future career.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. And then we have word is Dakota Hudson is going to get a start in the majors, likely in the doubleheader. So we maybe he can bring some of that magic that he just had down in the minors.
We will watch with great interest.
Yep. All right, let's talk about these rule changes. A lot of this had been foreshadowed. We knew most of these were going to come. So I think we even talked about some of this like in one of our earlier episodes. The league has been desperately trying to both speed up the game as well as adjust to the new analytics approach that the game had never really had until the last like 10 years. There's always been analytics in baseball, of course, but the notably the extreme shifting to deal with hitting types and then hitters adjustments to deal with the extreme shifting. So the league wants to balance the game a little bit, increase action and increase the speed.
Yeah.
That's their intent. And I think it's a worthy intent. I think we all agree, like, I generally, I think the game is good as it is, but I can understand the desire to speed up the game on average when there are consistently 4-hour games between like two teams that are bad. You're like, how is anyone ever going to get into that? Right. So I get it. And a lot of these I actually fundamentally agree with, but there's at least one that I'm not super pleased about. So
I think we're probably aligned on that, but yeah, let's go through it.
So the first one, let's talk about bigger bases.
Yeah.
We talked about this one before.
Yeah.
Generally, I think this is fine. I also had not considered the safety element of bigger bases until when I saw that in a recent article. Hopefully reduce impacts at every base, but I imagine most notably first base. So I think between that and like the slight increase in stolen bases and likely infield singles and whatnot that you'll get out of the game, like, it's fine. I don't think it's, I don't like, this is the stuff that baseball's always played with. The height of the mound, the distance between this and that, like, it's fine.
And I kind of look at it as like, when the game was originally created as opposed to now, everyone's faster. Everybody can throw the ball harder. Just like, and the distance hasn't changed for anyone. So I do think reducing the distance by what it was 6 inches on each side, essentially, is going to make players more likely to be safe. It'll turn a bang bang play into a safe play. I also think that there's an added benefit of making the target larger. Like the thing that you're aiming for when you're like you have more area to defend as a tagger and you have more area to grab onto or to stay safe on as a runner. And I think irrelevant to the or less speaking outside of the distance decrease that is happening with this change, I think that inherently will make this stealing bases a little bit easier. And I think all this with the guiding light principle that stolen bases are good. I want to watch those. Those are fun. Seeing a catcher pop up and throw down, that's entertaining. Seeing a successful steal, that's entertaining. So I'm all on board with that. And yeah, the safety aspect, I think I agree with you. Honestly, if MLB wanted to do like what they have in softball, like at your local high school or whatever, where they have the big first base that the first baseman uses, and then like the orange one that's kind of off to the side in foul ground there as the one that the runner hits, so that there's no chance of, or a less likely chance of them getting their feet tangled up, I would have no problem with that either. I would like to see actually that little orange one that's off to the side, a green light goes off or something when you hit it, so that we can have the timing of the catch even make a little bit more sense. Like I have no problems with those types of changes. Go for it.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but I really believe that at some point in the future, all of this is going to be able to be automated, where there'll be sensors in the ball, sensors in the glove, sensors in the cleat, and sensors in the bag, and we'll be able to know, like to the second, did the ball hit the glove before the cleat hit the bag
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And I think that's kind of separate from what you're saying, but like I think that's where eventually the game will go. And I think that's really interesting and would
Yeah.
be nice. Yeah, I'm generally for safety improvements. I'm not one of those guys like, oh, it's the game's in the game and like they
Yeah.
should mangle each other's hands.
Like the people who think the safety nets for foul territory should come down. I'm like, why? So a small child can get obliterated by 100-mile-an-hour
Yeah,
ball coming out of off a bat. What is wrong with you? Yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So yeah, generally supportive of big bags. One thing they still haven't really addressed that I would like for them to address related to bags is I think there's been an unintended consequence of replay where guys who are stealing second will like steal second, pop up, or briefly leave the bag
Yeah.
because of momentum and because the person is still holding the glove on them, they get called out because there is suddenly like a quarter inch of air between them and the bag.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I could see the argument of why, because they're off the bag and they're being touched by the ball, so they're out. But I think that like it was never really meant to be that way. Where if there's just a quarter inch of daylight in between, you can be tagged out. Like the human eye can't perceive that, and like I think it's an overcorrection.
Yeah.
So I've seen some theories of like the idea is like the bag extends indefinitely upwards, so like if you slide past the bag, of course, whatever,
Yeah.
or you're too far to the right, too far to the left or whatever. I'm not saying if you're like within a half inch like that used to be, but it's like when you're above the bag and you can get out, like I think that doesn't feel right. So I like the idea of them, like the thought is that if you're above the bag, you're on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have no
Um
problem with that. And like when you're talking about the entertainment factor, it's like I am never going to get gassed up for, oh, that guy's hand slightly reached or popped off or his belt
yeah,
wasn't touching the back. Yeah, no, I think
it just
we're
never
in agreement.
feels fun. I mean, of course, if you're on the other, your emotions are usually dictated by which side of the decision you're on,
Y-
but looking at it like, you know, objectively, I think it
But even
it
then, it's more of like a gotcha. You don't really feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
you did something. It's like
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, it's almost like getting a technicality. So,
right.
um let's go on to let's talk about the pitch clock
Okay.
next. Um how do you feel about the pitch clock?
I think the pitch clock is great. I've been wanting this for a while. We've seen how it's reduced game times in in the minor leagues, which is reduced by like 25 minutes to 30 minutes on average. Could
Yeah.
not be more for this. I do not. I think the whole thing about like Giovanni Gallegos, he's a big rule breaker here. I think he's got like 26 seconds between pitches or something like that.
Yeah.
He's one of the highest in the league. It might even be higher than that, closer to 30. But no, couldn't be more for this. There should move the game along. I do not like the standing around. I think it will actually increase, not only like will it shorten the time, but I think it'll increase the excitement in the moment because you can't walk around and gather yourself. You just got to get back there and throw it again. If you're getting hit around, you got to keep pitching until you get taken out or you figure something else out. Like I think the idea of like a bunch of action happening and then the pitcher kind of walking around the mound or taking his time or doing this or doing that deflates a game a little bit. You should like I really like the idea of just going. And I assume or what I believe is that there should be some level of umpire discretion. And I'm not sure exactly how this will play out, but let's say Albert Pujols hits his 700th home run. Do we really want to see the pitcher, have to basically get it and go that quickly? I know there
Yeah.
is some regulation where the timer doesn't start until the pitcher receives the ball. So maybe in a situation like that, either the umpire would like I said, use his discretion or hold on to the ball until the moment has passed. There should be some
Yeah.
still human element paying attention to the situation and what's going on.
I
But
suspect
outside of
it'll
that,
be yeah.
yeah,
I think they'll be able to do the thing where like the umpire comes out and like brushes off the plate, like, oh, got to clean the home plate. Like,
Yeah.
yep, got to do that right now. When they're clearly just giving time to
Right.
the crowd or to the players or whatever. Yeah, I would assume so as well. Yeah, I echo your sentiment. I think it's good. I think this will be a fundamental change to the experience of watching baseball for most people, and I think it's going to have an impact on pitching. And I think that overall, I think it's a good thing. I do, for all the reasons you said, you hope that the umpire has some discretion. I think I would be supportive of the idea of saying the pitch clock does not exist in the playoffs. And maybe that would be too game breaking if you play 162 games with this like forced pace, and then you can get into the playoffs and the whole thing slows down. But
Yeah.
I kind of like that pace in the playoffs where, like anyone who, if you're watching, you're engaged because it's a playoff game. I think there's enough at stake in that game that even that pacing around, like as a fan, you kind of feel it too.
Yeah,
Um,
except for when we get into the 5-hour playoff games.
yeah,
And I don't think
yeah,
that's good for anybody, especially like I think what I'd like to see is we're putting the best product out there on the highest stage. So like
that's fair.
I
Yeah,
I am with you. Like, yes, I could sit in those moments all night and I will be that person
yeah.
watching that game until 1 a.m. and I'll have no problem with that. But I do think I don't know many people outside of us
So
who are
that's the thing
like,
I
let's
have
go
to.
watch a five
Yeah,
hour game.
that's the thing I have to reckon with here. And I think a lot of us, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably in this same boat, is that like these changes aren't for us,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
And I have,
they MLB's already got us. Yeah, they can.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
sucked in.
So I guess I hope that we can maintain that like high drama of
Yeah,
like pitch selection and the like, I don't know. I like when the game really slows down in those key moments, bases loaded, da 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 da. Da. Like I hope we can still get some of that, but
yeah,
this is just going to be replaced with a new type of drama, right? Like a
right,
higher paced, faster drama. So I could, after next year's playoffs, be like,
right.
totally wrong. This was awesome. The
And,
pace.
and I also I think it's individual on the pitcher batter combination. Like I think some batters will feel the pressure from this, and I think some pitchers will feel the pressure from this, and it's going to kind of be an individual basis. Like you watch, Goldie, he'll pop 1 foot out of the box, reload, and go. Like Goldie will
Yeah.
be fine, but like we talked about Gallegos, he's going to have to make an adjustment. But there are,
Yeah.
remember Skip Schumacher doing his whole or the Harrison Bader routine in between pitches.
Matt Carpenter,
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys like that. Yeah, because it's a two-way street.
it is.
Hitters have 8 seconds to get back in the box.
Yeah,
So and giving up a strike for not being in the box on time is a pretty big,
yeah,
pretty big penalty. So okay, so the last one, and this is the one that
yeah,
considering our both answers, I think we're probably pretty aligned on this. The shift. So now there have to be two infielders on each side of second base, and they have to have their feet in the dirt.
yeah,
Uh, this I get it, and I think that there's some. There was I saw some like breakdowns of like what shifts will still be possible with
yeah,
these
yeah,
rules, and there are still a lot that you can do. You can still bring your left fielder into center and your center fielder all the way over into right field. You can still do things like that. But it's a pretty fundamental change to what a lot of teams are doing right now. And um, I have generally been very supportive of the shift. I think it's a
yeah,
natural evolution of the game, and it's up to teams and players to adjust to the newest evolution of the game and break shifts. And we were starting to kind of see that a little bit. And I don't think it's really up to the rules committee to say like this version of the game is fundamentally wrong,
yeah,
um, which is what they're saying when they do that. Uh, so I don't really like this change.
yeah,
As I said, I don't think they've not gotten rid of the shift entirely, but it's a pretty big change. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I pretty much agree with what you said. And I'll say that I'm going to be unbelievably annoyed when X manager comes out and says, no, 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 Tommy Edmonds' foot is actually 2 inches too far to the left or right. I'm challenging this
Yeah.
defensive setup. That is the first time that happens, the first
It's
20
going to be
times that happens, I'm going to
football
be pissed.
bullshit,
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
going to be very
Yeah.
annoyed by that. And then, I think like the idea of you have the information, where Joey Gallo is most likely to hit this, and then you cannot defend around that in the way that you want to. I find that to be very stupid. I don't like that at all. I also I think that you should be able to put 6 guys in the outfield. I think you should be able to put as many guys in the infield as you should be able to put your players wherever you want in the situation you want. And there's a risk reward aspect to the way that you choose to go about your defensive alignment. Now, to offer an opposing point just for the sake of conversation, I do think that there is something interesting about the way in which new shifts will be deployed if managers decide that it is worth it. And like you're talking about, let's say if you're opposing Matt Carpenter and you want to have your right fielder basically play that super deep second base, super short right field, you can do that, and you can basically have that person assume that role. And then what you have to do is you'll slide your center fielder over and you'll slide your left fielder over, and you're kind of be having two roaming like left center, right center fielders. And the aspect about that, talk about risk reward, is that you are then making this choice that I'm going to defend against this, but you are opening up a lot of real estate in the outfield to then
Right.
allow that hitter to make the adjustment that you're talking about right now. So I think that it's a bit of a penalty on the shift, which maybe I could see that being an interesting, extra meta within the new play. Like,
Right.
okay, they are now doing this where Matt Carpenter, if he could just slap it into the outfield, he will very likely have a hit because there's, the outfield coverage is
There's no
so
one
low.
out
As long as
there.
he doesn't get
Yeah.
too under that ball's probably going to be a base hit, or, whatever the situation might be. So I think that is a potentially interesting aspect. But again,
Yeah.
I think really I agree with what you're saying.
Well, my question is, where does the line go if suddenly this creates new versions of a shift and you've got your left fielder all the way over it playing right field or whatever? Are we suddenly now going to end up with sections in the outfield where your left fielder can't go past this imaginary line and your right fielder can't go past this imaginary line? Like, I don't
That
I
would be
hate to
troubling.
play that game of like, where does this go? What's the
Yeah.
line? Because that's a
People are going to be
you
marrying frogs.
yeah, exactly. I don't want to even like be close to emulating that mentality, but like,
Yeah.
I think rules in a game are a little
Yeah. Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So um that is one of my concerns. But yeah, I think, everybody adjusts, and this will just be a new adjustment. I've seen another theory that this is going to create like a similar to football, like uh, so you have to start on the dirt, but once the pitch is thrown, you can move. So there might be some like movement on the swing, where like the pitch is thrown and the guy was on the edge of the dirt and he's going to bolt backwards 5 steps and
Yeah.
turn around as quickly as he can to like
I mean,
to to be in that spot that he would have been able to be before. I think like that could be
I could
wild.
see I could see a scenario where let's put Matt Carpenter up there again and Tommy Edmonds playing shortstop, and he kind of before the pitch is thrown, when the guy's in the windup, he starts hitting his momentum. He starts walking or running in the direction of more center behind second base, and by the time he gets there,
Yeah.
maybe it's only 5, 6, 7, 8. He's pretty fast, maybe 10 steps or however far he gets over there, but. I mean, when you
Yeah.
say things like that sounds interesting to me. Like I would have watched that,
Right.
and I'd love to see people try that out. There would obviously be players who would be really good at that, and some players who cannot do that at
Yeah.
all. Which
People is Yeah, people are saying this, will highlight, and part of the purpose is it's going to highlight really athletic infielders, which is
yeah,
what we want. But yeah, I'm thinking about like how a third baseman charges the plate when there's a bunt, you know, but imagine that sort of movement, but it's from shortstop over to right field, like
Yeah.
on a pitch. And will that be distracting to a hitter? You know, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well,
So
you'll practice this. You'll have plays. You'll have situations. It'll be
yeah,
interesting. Like so,
yeah,
there is some light.
yeah. It won't necessarily be bad. I think I'm more like this is where I do get a little old timey with baseball,
Yeah.
where I'm like, you know, you can position how you want. Let's
Yeah.
not where are we gonna go with this? So, but yeah, you know,
There
they're
and there's
all elite
also like
athletes.
there's still such a variance in the shifting. There are teams that shift pitch to pitch on every batter. There are teams that don't shift as often. It is based on their defensive alignment, their defensive personnel. Like that is my problem with this is that it's still in like I don't think it's broke the game in any route. I think that there is a whole meta and gameplay around the idea of shifting that is still interesting and
Yeah,
watching like when you see a third baseman kind of when there's two strikes move his position. Like I find that
yeah.
stuff pretty interesting. But again,
Well,
we're
that's the
sickos. Yeah.
fundamental. Yeah, that's the fundamental difference here, and that's the part that we're not, that we're like disagreeing with is that the principle of this rule change is the idea that shifting is bad.
Right.
And we are of the mindset that shifting is good. So how can like we're not going to be aligned on
Right.
this rule change, you know,
Yeah.
even if we can admit that it might just create new interesting outcomes. So I guess we'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately I think these changes are on balance good. So I like to see them trying to improve the game. You know, I'm not like generally speaking, Manfred and Co. I've been like angry about everything they do all of the time, and
Yeah.
these I think are net good and should be fun and interesting. So I'll take it. And I am really looking forward to the pitch clock. I think
Me,
it'll be fun.
slam dunk. I agree.
Yeah. Um. All right. Well, any other league rule change things you want to talk about?
No, I am. I'm excited that these changes seem to actually be good because I've like the playoff and like you were kind of alluding to. I'm happy that real are people who are I don't want to say real baseball fans because that's gatekeepy and lame, but people who
Yeah.
love the game like we love the game, I think can get behind these rule changes, and I think that people who are a little less involved will also enjoy them. So, yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll move into our final segment. And I got a new one here for you, Ben. So,
bum, bum, bum.
in honor of your upcoming nuptials,
Ooh,
here we go. In the 1970s, the feminist movement adopted the slogan, "Behind every great man, there's a great woman." Sometimes, though, like you and I, standing in front of a frail, weak man, there's a great woman. In baseball, that balance is often shifted as well. Some baseball players have married women more famous or more accomplished than themselves.
okay.
That's right. They aren't singles, they are doubles. And sometimes those doubles are home runs. How well do you know these power couples? We'll find out in a new game I'm calling Who Did They Marry?
Oh, oh, Lord.
Okay. So here's the premise. I'm going to name
I want to point out before we even start this, I'm not like a baseball wag like tracker or follower. This is going to be really, really rough, but
yeah,
all right.
me neither. So I've tried to make it easier for you in that
Okay.
you're going to actually name the baseball player.
Oh,
And
okay. This is
because
good.
I thought that I originally uh original premise for this game was going to call it Name That Wife. And I was gonna name the player, then you had to name their famous wife. And I was like,
Sure.
I couldn't do this. This is not the part of baseball or really anything that I follow.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do something related to the wedding for
All
this
right. No,
episode.
that's
So
good. That's good.
here's what's going to happen. I'm going to name uh the woman and a brief bit of their accomplishments, and then I'm going to give you a small hint about who the person is that they married. And I think
Okay.
you might know a few of these that you don't realize that you know, because there are some very famous couples that are baseball players.
And
So
I'm extremely smart and just good at things. So,
right, yeah, sure. All right, so we'll start it off. Mia Hamm.
Oh,
Two.
I already know this.
All right. Well, two-time Olympic gold medalist
Yeah.
and two-time FIFA Women's World Cup champion. Is married to this famous infielder who won the Rookie of the Year with the Red Sox.
Nomar Garciaparra.
There you go. Yeah.
Hey,
All
look at
right.
that.
You got one. Okay. Halle Berry, Academy Award-winning
Really?
actress, is married to this slugging outfielder who won the Rookie of the Year with the Braves in 1990.
He won the Rookie of the Year with the Braves? So I actually thought... You're sure it's the Braves?
Yes.
Rookie of the Year with the Braves. He's a slugger, he said?
Mm-hmm.
Slugging center fielder. It's not Andrew Jones. Andrew Jones isn't married to Halle Berry, and he is probably a little younger than that. Is she married to Deion Sanders? He was a Braves outfielder around that time period, but I wouldn't say he's a slugger. I feel like I'm missing somebody who's very famous. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I even really have a guess for the. I guess I'll just guess Andrew Jones because I at least know he's a slugging center fielder for the Braves.
David Justice.
Really?
They were married for 4 years. So
okay,
not still married, but
fun.
they were married.
Am I stupid? I think of David Justice as a Yankee. Am I way off on that?
So I did too. And I guess it's just like but he only played with the Yankees for like 2 years.
Oh.
In my head, David Justice was a slugging first baseman for the Yankees. And then I went and, if you look him up,
he's a Brave.
He spent the majority of his career with the Braves. I don't know. My memory of 90s baseball is not great.
Yeah.
So
I was 1 year old when he had his first full season. So I'll give myself a benefit of the doubt there.
All right. Those were actually the harder ones. I didn't even know if you'd get Mia Hamm. So these last ones are pretty famous. So we'll see.
Uh-oh. Set me up for failure.
Kate Upton, famous model.
Justin Verlander.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what a couple.
Power couple.
I'm not sure who I would rather be.
I think it's obvious, Kate Upton. All right. Marilyn Monroe, famous actress, was married to this legendary center fielder for the New York Yankees.
I didn't know they were actually married. I thought it was just like fun and games, but it's Joe DiMaggio, right?
Yes. Maybe they weren't married. I thought they were, but but they were together. So
yeah, I've seen the photos. There's like a great photo of them out at a bar, like laughing with one of the Kennedy brothers or something like that.
Yeah.
I think my timing is way off on that, but you get it.
No, I mean Marilyn Monroe and the Kennedys is a whole thing also. So, but as a baseball player, it was earlier.
Yeah, sure.
He was in the 40s, but
are you going to see Blonde?
Yeah, I think so.
Sure, why not?
It sounds interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo, famous singer, actress, dancer. Who was she with? A controversial third baseman who won 3 MVP with the Yankees.
Mr. 696 himself. Alex Rodriguez.
Well,
that one was too easy.
This one is sort of a trick question, though, because they were also never actually married. They were engaged, and then they broke it off before they got married.
And J-Lo's back with Ben now, and it's a whole thing. Don't even get me started.
That'll be a new segment on the show.
Don't even get me started.
Don't even get me started. We're talking hot goss over here every Thursday.
We know it.
All right. Well, that was it. That's the 5 that I had.
Look at that. Hey, I didn't do so bad.
You got
David Justice. I'm sorry. I really,
you got 4. You got 4 out of 5. If you
Yeah.
had failed this game, you were going to have to call off the wedding. So I think you were successful. So
All right.
Yeah, good job, I guess.
Thanks.
So, that'll conclude this version of Who Did They Marry? And
wow.
So that'll also conclude this episode. So thank you all for listening. As always, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Shout out to our patrons. And Ben, good luck this weekend. We're all counting on you. And
hope I don't trip.
I kind of hope you do. That'll be fun.
My suit.
That'll be fun for me.
Yeah.
And we'll be back next week. Same time, same place. And until then, go Albert Pujols and go Cardinals.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right.
Talking about